Welcome back to another Commander video. My name is Scott, and first one for the year. So what I thought I'd do, just a little bit different, kind of take a snapshot, something to help me look back at, okay, what I was doing, I guess at the start of the year or the end of 2022. So yeah, I just wanted to go through what my current collection is at, what decks do I currently have built, and then, hopefully in 6 months time or a year's time, I'll be able to, run a comparison and see, okay, well, what has kept since that time and what has changed since that time. Is the trend of where mono black going? Am I following it, or am I kind of doing my own thing? So yeah, I thought it'd just be a nice little thing that I'll be able to go back and have a retrospect, and thought, if other people were interested. Okay, so for context, I built 22 decks this year, and one Precon upgrade, I guess, but 22, quite a lot, almost one every 2 weeks. I'll build them, play with them. Some last longer than others, and some I keep around for a while. But essentially, I'm breaking them down once I've kind of played with them for a bit, and then, putting those cards into other decks. But yeah, my roster, like I said, I downgraded halfway through the year, so my roster kind of downgraded. So I got rid of some of those decks, but yeah, a lot of them did, last them a while, and I really enjoyed them. But yeah, like I said, I downgraded. So I did 5 tribal decks: Henrika Domnathi, Drana Liberator Malakia, Evelyn the Covetous, Tabarek's Hope's Demise, and Buriko's Party Leader. Henrika Domnathi was probably my favorite tribal deck. It was Demon Tribal, which I thought it both thematic and lots of fun to play. Very, very slow though. So yeah, Spellslinger, I did just one, Toshiro Umezawa. It really wasn't for me. I did try to keep it around, because I thought it was a bit unique, and I didn't really have an archetype around it, but it just wasn't for me. I know some people really like it, but yeah, it just wasn't me. Life Gain, Dina Soulseeper. This one, it was a budget deck. It just didn't really have the oomph that I was looking for. I did keep it around again because it was an archetype that I didn't really have. But yeah, I ended up selling it as a full deck. Politics, Brina the Demagogue. Oh man, I love this deck. The Precon was fantastic. This deck was just so good. A lot of upgrades, a lot of cultivating I went into that, but again, I downgraded my collection, so I got rid of it. But that was a cool deck. Reanimator, Kess, Dissonant Mage, and Kukusho the Evening Star. Kukusho was a fun and powerful deck, but it was pretty much single-minded. But Kess, oh man, so much fun. But people did not really like being Jinga taxied and stuff like that. So I also got rid of that one. Aristocrats, Sivris, Nightmare Speaker, and that was partnered with Agent of the Iron Throne as my background partner deck. That was cool. I really enjoyed that one. That ended up being a Fane the Broker deck, and that Fane Broker deck became a Braids Arisen Nightmare deck. Braids, such a fantastic card. The deck was a bit dirtly, so I ended up getting rid of it and kind of pulling it apart for bits, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. Super Friends, Yawgmoth, Thran Physician. It was okay. I played Super Friends before. I had a Nicol Bolas deck that I got rid of. So it kind of had the exact same kind of play patterns, maybe just a bit weaker. So it was okay, but it didn't really grab me. I guess Super Friends is probably not an archetype that I'm really into. Draw, just generic draw. I had Cezanne, Perverter of Truth. That was a super fun deck, right? And then that just ended up being Shieldred the Apocalypse, which I have kept around. I did pull it apart to make a Starscream deck, but I had since then built it back from a Starscream deck. So Starscream was really cool because I like the Monarch mechanic, but Shieldred, it's just a lot of fun, right? I want my opponent to draw, I want me to draw, I want everyone to draw. You have a card, I have a card, everyone gets a card. So a lot of fun. Big Mana, Maga, Traitors, Traitor to Mortals. Yeah, this one was it was really dirtily. This one I didn't keep around too much. Again, it was an archetype that I didn't really have, but it didn't really have a really cool theme. It's just like, just try to make as much mana as it can and try to pop somebody, I guess. So yeah, tokens, Mortarian Demon Primarch. This one I kept around for a while in comparison. Yeah, I love losing life. I think losing life is so fun. So I tried to keep this one around, but yeah, essentially I pulled it for parts. Because my Mortarian actually became my Gix deck, which is my aggro deck. Now Gix I have kept around. It's a lot of fun, very all in. I'm still enjoying it at the moment, so which is why I've kept it around. But yeah. That's my only aggro. It's not really something that I had played in Commander before, so you know, it was really cool to try. And then Opponent's Library, I guess, is what I called this one. So I did two, which was Avanox the Mind Flail, and Gonti Lord of Luxury. Avanox, that was a lot of fun. But it was really, really slow. Where like if your opponent's just start swinging at you, it was very hard to do anything. I would need to have pulled apart some other decks to kind of get it back to a working order, but it was so much fun. But yeah, it was really slow. Yeah, and then Gonti Lord of Luxury, that was cool, but yeah, it didn't really have the same I like to know what I'm doing. I guess, I don't know. Somehow I found it different to Avanox. I think pulling from the bottom of someone's library just felt cooler. I don't know. So yeah, and then my Precon upgrade was an Imitate the Stormlord. That was a lot of fun. That deck rocks. Even just the upgrade. I had like try to make it more than just the upgrade that I had posted, but yeah, ultimately, you know, I pulled it back just so that I have a Precon built as is. So yeah, so those are the decks, just to have a context of what I have made this year, as I kind of show off my decks, I guess, that have stayed. So I thought I'd go through my currently built decks. So this is not all of them, but I guess, you know, this is a lot of them. So I guess just to make everything aware, you know, about halfway through the year, I did downgrade my collection. I had a lot more decks than this. I think I was at 15, 16. But I decided to downgrade, just because I couldn't play with them. I couldn't play all of them. I'd go to the store, kind of just kept playing the same ones that I kept playing. So I ended up just downgrading a lot of them. And yeah, just getting rid of some, just selling them as full-on commander decks. So I thought, okay, let's go through what I've currently got at the moment. So I've got them each individually labeled. The Crick one is a CEDH one, just so that I can keep track of, okay, what archetypes am I currently got built, and just really try to make sure that I'm not doubling up on archetypes. We'll see the exception of tribal. I think tribal, you know, is fun and is different depending on the tribe, and you will notice that the other tribal deck is not mono black. So yeah, thought we'll go through the deck. With Shieldred first, I guess I'll just put these to the side. And we can just go, I don't know, just like go through the deck a little, just like, you know, what's kind of there, but maybe just talk about them a bit. So Shieldred, you know, it's pretty typical, this one. This one's probably one of my more stronger decks, where it's just like a lot of just have my opponents draw stuff with Temple Bell and things like that. So this one hasn't changed too much since I did my original deck tech. Often I'll play what I feel is the best version that I can play at the time, and then I'll be onto a new deck and I'll be swapping cards in and out, so things often change. But yeah, this one I found to be a lot of fun. People seem to have a bit of a problem with Shieldred. It has a bit of a negative rap, I guess, maybe because of other formats. I definitely don't think it's as strong in Commander. It kind of just sits there. But it's a very, very fun deck. I really do enjoy it, but it's probably one of my stronger decks and probably ones that people don't like as much. We'll go through my Corlash deck. This is probably my weakest deck. So this one is a Voltron deck, so it's pretty much just all Corlash, all swamps. It plays the most swamps I have. I think I have 30 swamps in this one, but it's got generally just weaker cards. You know, Necromantic Selection is just a board wipe that I really love. So a lot of cards that I'm just really into. You know, Brass Knuckles I really enjoyed in draft. So yeah, just a bunch of equipment, Black Fold Blade, you know, just things that you would expect in, you know, a Voltron, but like weaker draw spells and you know, stuff like that. Some things to make it indestructible and just kind of protect my Voltron. Yeah, and just really just try to you know, get it as big as possible with the swamps. Usually what happens with this deck is I kill one person and then I die. I do have a bit of infect in this one. I have enjoyed Mandate of Abaddon, but yeah, usually I kill one person and then everyone's like, oh wait, this Voltron person can kill people outright. So yeah, I get targeted and I die, but it's a lot of fun. Okay, let's go next up. Another one that's not too strong. So Gix, I changed up. Basically, I pulled it apart and got cards from other decks, put in the other decks. But you know, the core of this is essentially a bunch of commons, right? So I kept it built and then kind of just changed it up. So it's just got all like the shadow creatures and things like that. So that core is not too different, but I think some of the supporting cards are just a bit weaker, since I've pulled, you know, this apart and put some of those cards in other decks and things like that, right? So like Nashi wasn't really in my deck, but it's a fun card to play, and you know, I've put those cards into something else. So yeah, just a bunch of unblockable stuff. Fear, Haste, Intimidate, some Ninjutsu. I even put Archfiend of Ifnir in here. That wasn't in my original build, but it's nice if I can get that discard off. But it's a bit Win-More-ish, and also I got a bit of initiative, which is kind of fun. So yeah, so the deck's a bit weaker now, but still a lot of fun. Very, you know, all in on you know, being unblockable. Ayara, I think Ayara it's changed a bit, but it's got a few upgrades, things like Nykthos and stuff. I managed to get an additional copy, so I've put that in there. But essentially, you know, it is a pretty typical Aristocrats kind of builds. That's Will I like, you know, just because it makes the black thralls, which is nice. But yeah, it's just got a bunch of you know, typical Aristocrats, mono black Aristocrat stuff. Lots of tokens being made, a lot of sacrifice outlets. Braids is a fantastic card in the deck. Braids is just a fantastic card in general. I've really liked it. Lethal Schemes I really enjoyed. So yeah, just, you know, your typical stuff. Which of the Moors is really, really good in it. Attrition was a new one that I got. I picked that one up, you know, a few months ago. So I added that one to the deck. Zard's Zard, I got a nice little foil borderless one, which I added. So that was cool. So, you know, it gets those kind of upgrades. Talaman and Nurgle's another nice one. So yeah, so a lot of changes on that one, but it's still pretty much the core. If this one pretty much went into more upgrades rather than downgrades, as opposed to Gix that went downgrades. Shieldred pretty much stayed the same. Corlash gets upgrades, but you know, it's pretty janky anyway. Okay, Ghoulcaller Gisa. So very typical zombie. You know, not too much zombie upgrades after Midnight Hunt, well, and Crimson Val, I guess, but things like Stinging Study I added. Violent Tumor I've been really enjoying, so I've added that. But other than that, you know, very typical zombies. This one has a bit of a snow theme, which I really enjoy. Cool Murderous Rider that I got foil. Yeah, oh yeah, I got an Unholy Grotto, maybe like, yeah, maybe 6 months ago, 9 months ago. And the Patriarch Seal's been really nice to untap. So, you know, there's those small changes, but it essentially the core is, you know, zombie tribal. So yeah, that one's been a lot of fun. That one's kind of a core one that's stayed around for a long time. I've had that one for a long time. Of course, Zarek, the Silent King. So this is literally the precon. I've decided to just keep this all together. It's all just the precon. I didn't have a precon, so it was really nice just to have one. I did do the Imatech, the Stormlord upgrade, and that was a lot of fun playing that deck, but then I pulled it apart and just kind of kept it as the precon, you know, just so that I have one, essentially. Okay, and then I guess Crick, which is so this is my CDH deck. I don't get to play too often because it's not really something played at the store too much. But this one does contain, I think it's about 14% proxies, if I remember, something like 15%. So it's pretty much, you know, 1-to-1 to what's on the CDH database. I think I've got a few cards that I've put in myself, but yeah, I've got a bunch of proxies, as you can see, like stamped proxy. I'm getting a Jet Medallion, so I'll replace that. Mana Vault I haven't got yet. Leg of the Dead I actually have two, but I keep these for Legacy, so I've just got that proxy one. Phyrexian Tower, I've got a bunch of them, but they're in other decks. So, you know, there's some that I could probably fix up. But this is essentially, and Lotus Petals, like I have a bunch, but they're in Legacy decks. So I haven't really, you know, I don't play this one too much. So I don't tend to, you know, go by and fix it. I've got a Shield Druid, obviously, but, you know, again, just play with I've just got a proxy here. So yeah, but it's essentially mostly exactly the same as what you can find on the database. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. Very, very all in, which is cool. Okay, and I guess the last deck of this section is my Tovola. So this is my only non-mono black deck. So Werewolves was exactly the reason why I got into Magic. I essentially played a werewolf deck in Modern, and, you know, it didn't do too well. I'm like, okay, how do I play these werewolf cards? And then I found Commander. And so then it was an Ulrich deck first up, and then obviously Midnight Hunt came out later on, and I changed it to Tovola. So this one, you know, it's not the cheapest deck, that's for sure. But you know, this one's my pet, and I'm never going to change it. I do need to change these sleeves. These sleeves are horrible. But yeah, Xenagos is really good in this deck. Jesus, it always really changes the game. So yeah, it's just a bunch of ramp, werewolves, and some support cards. Brotherhood's End was the last update I did to it, which is cool. I don't update this too much. Ever since Midnight Hunt, it might get 1-2 cards. I think, you know, like Toski was one that I added when Coldheim came out, just for that additional draw. I think it's like the only draw spell. I guess Great Henge and things like that. So, you know, that are kind of like a supportive. But yeah, that it's a lot of fun. But, you know, it's really when I'm in a mood just to swing at people, right? If I just want to play the combat step, that's that. So those are my main commander decks. Now I do have one more. My Bay. This is my absolute love. So all my other ones I kind of just play whatever. But my Liliana deck is very, very curated. Essentially it's cards that I love to play. Cards that, you know, work with the commander really well, and essentially I'm in the progress of changing it so that it's like every card is some kind of promo or showcase or borderless art. So yeah, just in the process. I got the new Plaguecrafter coming in. This Rankle I got in my pre-release, which I really loved. Entomb, great. So secret, bunch of secret layers in here. Promo, the collection of Black Soul Ring, Borderless Liliana Veil, Braid Showcase, Damnation Secret Lair, Dracula Secret Lair, Demon Lord Belzenlock Secret Lair, Gravecrawler Secret Lair. So I've gone in the process. I've got a Crick, Post Malone Crick coming in the mail, but I think I'm not going to swap it out because I don't really like the art. But Arcane Signet, you know, so all of these are just the whatever special version I can find, sketch version, borderless versions. So yeah, I've really gone out of my way to pick cards that I think really work well, and B, you know, that I really like to play. So yeah, I'm waiting. You know, I've got to wait. New Jet Medallion obviously coming. So this Jet Medallion will go in the Crick deck, for instance. New Liliana of the Dark Realms coming, which is going to be great. Secret Lair. That's also Secret Lair. Borderless. Kakusho, there isn't one. Yeah. Last Hope, Phyrexian Altar. And then, Junji's the only borderless that I still need to get, but have been really enjoying it. Anyway, so this is my favorite deck. I absolutely love this deck. Nobody likes to play against it, which is unfortunate. But I love every card in here, and I love playing this deck, and I can play it over and over. I goldfish it all the time. Every chance I get to play, I will always play it. Okay, so those are my commander decks. I also this year wanted to make sure that I had stuff for competitive formats. So I have Modern, Pioneer. So Pioneer, I have a mono black mid-range deck. So it's a very typical mid-range deck. It's got, you know, Invoke Despairs, all 4 Invoke Despairs, Lilianas, Gifted Aether Borns, Thought Seizers, so many Thought Seizers, Shieldred. So, you know, it's basically like a Rakdos mid-range deck, but mono black, of course. So that's fun. I've been really enjoying that. You know, I do enjoy competitive Magic. And then Modern, I play mono black ARAC. So, you know, Urza's Sagas, Mistras, the Rack, Liliana Vows, Urborgs, so good. Raven's Crime, I love. So yeah, just a whole bunch of discard spells and Urza's Sagas essentially to get the Rack. And some Snare Bridges. Man, I love getting people with Snare Bridge. So yeah, so that's ARAC. Absolutely love that deck. That is ARAC was my first, well, technically my second modern deck, because I did make a Werewolves modern deck, but my real mono deck, modern deck, I guess, is ARAC, and I've kept it. I did like have a bunch of other modern decks, but I had sold them on during COVID. So Pauper, I also made a deck. Pauper's great because, you know, it could be nice and cheap. But this is essentially Devotion, mono black Devotion. So, you know, all the black pips, Monarch, Chainer's Edicts, and then Grey Merchant of Asphodels for your Devotion. You know, Kumbai Witches, Phyrexian Rages. I do like the new art for this one. So yeah, this one's a fun deck. I don't get to play Pauper too much though. So yeah, but that one's been, you know, a lot of fun. I really love Devotion, and of course then my Legacy deck. So my Legacy deck is unfortunately not mono black. It was mono black, but it essentially is Reanimator. Now it might as well be mono black. It only has 4 non-black cards in the main board, but essentially it's you know, typical Reanimator with Faithless Loonies to put stuff into graveyard as well as in tombs, and Griefs for discard, Unmasked for discarding myself, Thought Seizers. So very, very typical. I really enjoy it. I did play it mono black, but when you're playing, I guess, Legacy, mono black's great because it's a nice cheap way to get into Legacy, because essentially it can be this deck but with a bunch of swamps, and that's fantastic. But it really didn't fight the hate that people had for it. So yeah, those are my decks, which has been a blast to build. So those are ones that I've kept currently. Now, for context, this year I built 22 decks. So I built 22 commander decks. Obviously I only have 8 of them. Some of them that I built this year didn't last. So I would build them and then I'll break them down for some new deck, right? So I'll build them, I'll play them, and then I'll break them down. So 5 tribal decks I built. Henrika Domnathi was probably the most fun with a demon tribal, and it had 2 vampire tribals in that one. So yeah, I built a lot of tribal decks, but Henrika Domnathi was super fun. Spellslinger Toshiro Umezawa I didn't enjoy too much. It wasn't, I just realized it wasn't for me. Life Gain, I built a Dina Soulseeper deck. Again, that one was a bit more, but that one was budget, so it didn't really have a lot of the impact that I was looking for, I guess. So that one actually survived really long as kind of like my budget deck, but didn't quite work. Politics, I built, all good.